Hey there, welcome back to Broken Arrow. Broken Arrow just dropped a new trailer. This is about the Stryker specialization. Now, these Strykers, if you're coming from Wargame, you might recognize them as very mobile vehicles, wheeled vehicles. So this is a bit akin to the motorized specialization, if you want to call it that, if you want to compare it to something. Very important note, those A10s that you see throughout this trailer are not, say again, not part of the Stryker specialization. I asked the developers because there was some confusion about it, and the A10s are part of the airborne spec. So please don't expect to find them just under the specialization of the Strykers. You'll have to go Stryker plus airborne if you want to have the tandem combination that you can see here. So with a couple of Strykers rushing a position and getting overhead cover from the A10s. Unfortunately, not part of the Stryker Brigade, but they do have some very interesting other gear. Now, keep in mind, you're looking at almost exclusively, if not fully exclusively, wheeled vehicles. Wheeled vehicles tend to not have as much armor. That means they tend to not have as much staying power. And that means that this might be a somewhat more tricky specialization to play. It could be very much hit and run. Fire off a couple of missiles, go after some vehicles, go after a weak spot in the enemy lines, and then pull back. Because you're not a tank. You might have some hefty firepower, but you are armor-wise not a tank. Keep that in mind, because it will mean that you're going to have to play these guys different from, for example, armor. Another very nice option that the Strykers are going to get is airdrop ability. This, however, again comes at the expense of armor. You can, in your arsenal, change the amount of armor that you put on a vehicle. The heavier you make the vehicle, the more difficult it's going to be to airlift, and the more armor you put on, the less likely it'll be able to actually get parachuted out of the vehicle. Between having wheels, and between having that aerodroppable capability, this does mean that the Strykers are going to be exceptionally mobile. Fragile, but exceptionally mobile. You'll be able to most likely just exploit break-ins into enemy lines, or, for example, use flanking a lot more, and especially since fuel isn't an issue, that can definitely be a very interesting thing to exploit if you have the time. Now, let's have a look at some more of these units and the devlog. So, what do we know about these guys? Well, for starters, you need something that has a gun. That's the Stryker MGS, the Stryker Mobile Gun System. 105mm gun. It is used to eliminate other vehicles. Not so much tanks. This is explicitly mentioned in the devlog. This is not going to go up against an M1A1. It's not going to go up against a T80. They simply don't have the staying power. So be careful with those MGSs, but if you can get them into good positions, they will of course be able to exploit break-ins. The Stryker MC is a mortar carrier, again very quick, and whereas you might be going, well, it's a mortar, why need to be quick? Well, shoot and scoot. Fire a couple of rounds and then get underway. These guys have access to laser-guided shells as well, so if you can combine them with a recon troop or a Stryker reconnaissance with a laser designator, you can definitely get some very accurate mortar fire. Get those shells out and relocate. When it comes to the Strykers, you can see that they have lots and lots and lots of different types and different sorts of vehicles. You'll have a different vehicle for every purpose. You can see mortar carriers, you can see HEGM carriers, you can see recon vehicles. You can even see something that looks like a self-propelled gun, carrying a 105mm cannon. So we're going to have lots and lots of different Strykers, and this is where it might sometimes get a little confusing, because you'll have so many different Strykers in your deck that you're going to go, right, which variant is this again? What capabilities that I assigned to this in the arsenal? It's going to be nothing but Strykers by the looks of it. And over here, by the way, this is the 105mm Stryker SPH, the self-propelled gun, self-propelled howitzer. So what else can we expect? Interestingly, and this is something that I don't exactly have a screenshot of, they have no helicopters. They have no helicopters. That's going to be interesting. They do, however, have access to this. This is the B-52H Stratofortress, capable of launching air-launched cruise missiles. I believe they carry Lots and lots and lots of payloads, but of course it is a B-52. It has the mobility of a brick, so keep that in mind as you are going to deploy it. It is not that likely to survive forays into enemy territory. Enemy air defense is going to have a field day trying to shoot these things down, and you can bet your ass that they'll be expensive. Thankfully, you can escort them with the F-16s. Various different variants of those. So we're going to see the F-15C as a bit more of a ground attacker. There's also talk of a seed variant. And you can most likely spend a lot of time figuring out exactly what type of armament you would want under this aircraft. Do you want to have a mix of ground attack and air-to-air? Do you want to have exclusive air-to-air? I can see myself spending a lot of time in that. For more shore-based or ground-based air-to-air, you got the M-SHORAD. This is the Short-Range Air Defense. That's what that stands for. And, well, it's not strictly self-defense as in anti-air. They also can be equipped with Hellfires. So it's not just your AA unit, as you may have also seen from the rest of the SHORAD versions for the Bradley. Those things have teeth. They got lots of teeth. The Stryker ICV is an infantry carrying vehicle. They come equipped with 9 infantry inside. The vehicle itself can have a heavy machine gun, a grenade launcher, even a 30mm cannon, depending on what you need. And the infantry inside is going to be either AT infantry with RPGs or AA infantry. Again, note that the Stryker here, as especially noted by the devs, is the lead vehicle, if you will. And the infantry is there to augment the capabilities of the vehicle, not the other way around. This is not infantry that you drop off and then you support with the vehicle. This is, for example, the vehicle that moves forward to a position, drops off the infantry, lets the infantry do its job, and then the infantry gets back in case of, for example, AA, and moves out again. So you're going to have to focus a lot of attention on not just keeping your vehicles alive, but also your infantry. This over here is the M10 Booker. This has an APS, so an active protection system. It is capable of using a 105mm cannon, and interestingly you can also mount it out with a 50mm autocannon. I think by that point they're going to be a very nice addition, aside from your mobile gun system, to not only quickly mop up vehicles, for example done with the MGS, but also infantry coming out of that with the 50mm cannon. Regarding infantry, the Strykers also have a Stryker engineering support vehicle. They're going to be carrying combat engineers with bunker buster rockets. That is going to really ruin somebody's day if they're in a building that you really do not want them to be in. It's going to be a bit more specialized of a unit. It is not as general as, let's say, your door kickers, if you will. But then again, who needs door kickers if you have a bunker buster rocket launcher? As for other aircraft, I already briefly touched on the fact that they do not have helicopters, but they do get these 2 drones. On the left, the MQ-1 Predator, which is a big-wing drone capable of also launching some Hellfires. The other one is the RQ-7B Shadow, much smaller, much less likely to get detected and still give you eyes on target. As for support vehicles, you're going to be seeing the Patriot PAC-3, as well as the HIMARS. So you'll be able to get some very punchy weapon systems available to defeat enemy aircraft, as well as enemy artillery, or just, of course, hit enemy positions before your Strykers rush in and eliminate any survivors. A unit especially noted, but not shown on a picture, is the multi-mission launcher, carrying 15 Stingers, Hellfires, or AIM-9 missiles. And there is talk of a Centurion C-RAM, equipped with the Phalanx Sea-Wiz radar-guided gun. So we're going to have some firepower, and how exactly that Phalanx Sea-Wiz is going to work, I don't know. Maybe we'll be able to, I don't know, use it to shoot down ballistic missiles, which would be fun. Now, considering that we have the Strykers, the Airborne, the Armored, and the Marines, well, and one more, I don't know what that 5th one is, but given it's a dagger, I suspect it's Special Forces, although the developers refused to comment on that. What would be a good synergy for this one? What would be a good synergy for this particular specialization of the Strykers? I think there's something to be said for everyone. If you look at the Marines, I think you'll have a fairly well-rounded force. The Marines are going to be capable of taking the fight to the enemy and basically having the staying power in towns that maybe your Stryker-based infantry doesn't have. Whether or not it's going to be very feasible for your armor, I'm not sure. You'll have a very heavy infantry focus with the Marines plus the Strykers, and given that, maybe you still lack the striking power of armored units. So then combining armor with the Strykers I think would be a very good combination. You can use your armored forces to either break in or to do a bit more defensive posturing, and then have your Strykers rush in once you actually have a break into the enemy line, or do all sorts of flanking maneuvers. Regarding airborne, I think airborne plus the Strykers are going to be very useful. Simply because you'll be able to appear in all sorts of weird locations. You will still have the issue of staying power. You will have, for example, high-end helicopters. You will also get the A-10, as shown in the trailer, but you still don't get a lot in the sense of armor. So if you are looking at a playstyle where you can go very quick, but are also very fragile, basically a glass cannon playstyle, I think airborne plus Strykers would be interesting. As to that last one, I don't know. It could be special forces. As far as I know, there isn't a whole lot of information, if anything, out there regarding what the special forces are going to bring, or whether they're special forces at all. I'm looking forward to seeing more from Broken Arrow, which of course is coming out in June this year, so in about 3 months relative to the release of this video. I am looking forward to playing these Strykers. I like the motorized specialization. I like how it's going to be capable of going locations quickly, capturing strategic positions quickly, and of course, you're not fighting these things alone. You are playing with your teammates, so you can get to a location quickly, wait for your buddy, for example, with, I don't know, Marines plus Armored to catch up, take over the front line, and you're free to go somewhere else and see if there are any vulnerabilities you might be able to exploit. Let me know what your thoughts are down below in the comments. What sort of combination would you use with the Strykers? What sort of specialization do you think has the best synergy? I'm looking forward to playing them. Thank you for watching, hope you've enjoyed, and I'll see you soon for more Broken Arrow.